Good morning. A very quiet election day ahead of us with a lot of sunshine on the way. It's tomorrow afternoon we start to notice cloud cover and even the possibility of a few spot showers to the south, and mainly that southeastern corner we'll be looking at. Albuquerque sunshine for the next several days. Crystal?
Recently, New Mexico has been thrust into the election spotlight after several visits from Trump's camp. News 13's political analyst Gabe Sanchez doesn't believe the heavy stumping from Trump's camp will drum up a whole lot of support for him. He says all of the attention, though, could mean more voters at the polls. Catherine?
I know you're shooting.
Election day in the blue state of New Mexico was sunny and calm, but after a traumatizing election cycle, voters had mixed feelings on non-major party candidates.
Jill Stein and Gary Johnson, an argument could be made that, they're not going to win. They're just going to affect the outcome of the real election. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that's right, but I also think there's a movement in this country towards a more parliamentary approach.
Okay.
I think our two-party system is being eroded, and I don't know if that's a bad thing.
All right, so they say don't waste the vote, and I'm a little bit in that boat.
Depending on Jill and how Jill and Gary do in the election,
Right.
really determines the future of their party. Like if Gary gets 5%, he gets federal funding. So,
Okay,
Yeah.
that's actually news to me, and I
Okay.
appreciate that.
okay.
And that would make sense why he kept in.
Bottom line, it's like, no, they're still representing voices, and I think that's good because we are such a multifaceted country and there are many voices. So now, if it were to turn out somehow that there was a real negative effect and it took away from Hillary, such that she was not the candidate that wins, that would probably change my perspective a bit, to be real honest.
I hope that we come together after today. I hope that tomorrow is not a day of violence. I hope that whoever gets nominated gets in a bus and drives around this country and talks about how do we come together.
I'd like that too.
By early evening, the results from the East Coast started pouring in. At their election watch party, libertarians kept their eye on hitting 5%, a goal that awards the party federal funding and ballot access in most states.
You looking forward to? It's the last night,
Yeah, but the work starts for me tomorrow.
Okay, yeah. I know 5%'s a big deal for federal funding down the line. Any other hard numbers like that?
In about 17 states around the country, we spend a total of, there's about $750,000 for ballot access. And so any numbers between 1% and 5% in those 17 states in this election will then take that off the table so that we can spend that money on actually spreading the libertarian message to the American people rather than getting to the starting line.
While the rest of the country watched Donald Trump take an impressive lead in Florida, Gary Johnson quietly broke the vote record for the Libertarian Party.
Every single vote now is a new record that's going to be the best third party showing since 1996.
So end of the night, what do you think makes this a big success?
5% gets us minor party status, gets the 2020 candidate over $10 million in federal funding. The governor probably only has 30 or 40% name recognition, maybe 50%. And you can see how that hampers growth. You need to have 100% name recognition, so we need to have a national name in order to get national numbers.
At 8:30, Trump took Ohio, changing the odds of the race to be a 50-50 split, while Gary and the Libertarians celebrated the campaign that was.
Bill and I are pledging we were pledging a balanced budget in the first 100 days. Why is that important? Well, it's important for young people. Thank you, Governor, for giving us the courage to stand up tonight. This doesn't end. Viva Gary! Viva Gary! Viva Gary! Viva Gary!
By the time Florida went to Trump, Libertarians, like everyone else, were letting a new reality set in.
I'm not sure if we're gonna get that 5%. I mean, it's kind of disappointing because I think, I was raised Republican, but, in this election, it's not what even Republicans stand for. So for them to vote that way and not feel that way, I think is wrong.
When Trump all but ensured the election, Libertarians realized they would likely miss hitting 5% nationally.
Whether you look at the debate commission, you look at the polling structure, you look at the media outlets, you look at a lot of challenges that we face, which are the system as it is, and I'm not saying it is what it is right now. I'd like to change some of that. You know, some people are going to be happy. If she is the loser, they're going to be happy, but they're not really going to be satisfied.
Dana, you wanted to be precise, so go ahead.
That's right. CNN can report that Hillary Clinton has called Donald Trump to concede the race. She has called Donald Trump to say that she will not be president, and I'm not sure the exact words, but probably to congratulate President-elect Donald Trump.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody. Sorry to keep you waiting. Complicated business. Complicated.
This is the carcass. We'll be out of here on Saturday.
Pizza, wine.
Who's the guy or gal talking semi-coherently? Well, essentially, coming in, it was to get on the debate stage. That's the big enchilada. That's where those who are voting, they're tuning in for at least one of them. Or they're going to pick up the following coverage. They'll see the clips. They'll see the late night shows, the web video, whatever. They're going to be touched. Those who are going to vote in a presidential election. The strategy was to get on the debate stage, and if it didn't happen, yes, we want to call the debate commission, we got to get them on stage, but internally and here in New Mexico, we knew ultimately what the strategy had to be, and it was to win this state. Mm-hmm. And it was to essentially deprive Trump and Clinton their 270 electoral votes. People caught on, they bought into it. 1 second, guys, I gotta check. Yeah, we're gonna be out of here. We just need to get people to help us. I don't know, he's a good girl. All right. So what was that?
Yeah, your local goals here for ballot access down the road, and what are other?
Well, we have 100% ballot access now.
Gotcha.
I mean, we met our goal. I think we're still at barely under like 4,000 or 5,000 registered libertarians in the state of New Mexico. Mm-hmm. Yes, that's a minority, an extreme minority. But since January, our party registrations have gone up 24%. This is our VoIP phone system. This is what all the big boys are using.
We had been talking about like next steps, and you were talking school board elections.
Oh yeah.
Moving up with smaller races.
Yeah.
Because it's wins.
Well, it's about wins. It is. It's all about wins. If third parties truly want to have a chance to grow and to be relevant, it can't just be every 4 years for a presidential election. We've got to focus on winnable, attainable goals. Everything we've learned, resources, network, put it all into these specific 5 or 6 races across the state. And if we can win all of them or even just one, the biggest plea I make to libertarians and who are passionate, I ask them, consider running for office. If you don't want to be president, neither do I. Run for school board. Run for school board. You can win with 1,000 votes. I mean, it's a 1,000 voter universe. The guy who gets 501 votes wins. And that's a reality in rural New Mexico. City council elections 1 year from now. It's a 2,000 voter universe. That's how we grow this party, is we maintain activism, maintain candidate recruitment, maintain community education and partnership. And if we can, we're not looking to take over school boards, we're not looking to take over city councils, but we're looking to have, I think, the right representation for the population.
You know, we felt it really hit after the second debate, where suddenly, immediately after the second debate, the media interest there was a blackout. There was a total blackout. And whether that was the debate or whether it was the fact that Donald Trump was closing up and the gap between Clinton and Trump was eroding and people became very scared.
How did the Green Party come out?
Well, it really exceeded my wildest expectations. We not only tripled our vote, but the timing was kind of perfect. It was almost like unbelievable that you had the Bernie Sanders phenomenon, and Bernie sort of, raised the bar. So a lot of principled people were looking for another place to go.
How do you make it more sustainable? How do you get it, make sure that it grows continuously over, the next handful of elections?
There's no doubt we'll be focusing a lot on locals. And we have actually a very large and growing following, which has not gone away with the end of the election, because it's not just Green voters, but a lot of other people are really looking for something else.
After the election, Jill Stein raised $7.3 million to cross-check the vote in Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania.
Were you a Jill Stein supporter in the general?
No, I wasn't.
You weren't?
I wasn't.
Did you support another candidate? What other candidate did you support?
Hillary Clinton.
Okay. So how come you're joining this effort with Jill, knowing that the outcome may or may not change as much?
Because she's supporting us. Because she's supporting, and it's not about them or ours. Now it's like it's the majority.
For me, that's like a decision I made years ago, that if there was ever doubt about the vote and it was on my watch as a candidate, of course I would use my standing as a candidate to ensure that that we cross-check the vote and that we create a voting system with transparency. It should be built into the system. This isn't something we should have to hold a bake sale on steroids for in order to raise millions of dollars, in order to have the right to transparency and accountability in our voting system. We got other stuff we got to do, but this is the only time we can really capture the imagination of the American public, who's really up in arms about this, including the national vote and the Electoral College, which is another problem that also needs to be fixed. So, this was clearly the time to do that. People are in a fighting mood and are really looking for deep change.
Jill's scamming, right? I mean, this is...
Gotta keep walking, you can't block the track.
You can blame a million people who voted third party for Jill Stein.
Dr. Stein, do you feel like the outcome, though? Because I'm getting mixed messages here. Some people say this is not about the outcome, this is not about Hillary Clinton, but what I just heard from you is you think the outcome will be differently in these 3 states.
Well, I think the outcome will be very different in the minds of Americans. The outcome will be that we have an election system that we can trust. That is our first and foremost intention here, is to verify the vote and ensure that we have an accurate, secure, and fair voting system. Whether it will change the outcome, we don't know, and I think it would be unfair to raise expectations that the outcome is going to change. That's not our intent, and when we identified Michigan as one of the important states to examine, there was no victor at the time. So I want to underscore that we were not challenging one candidate or assisting another candidate. This is about ensuring that all votes get counted and that voters can trust this system going forward.
How do you feel about Jill Stein stealing your $27? How do you feel?
Oh, I feel great.
Oh, you feel great. Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, that's what you teach your kids. Honestly, I believe that she's just trying to confuse people because it's a time to move on where already it's a lot of tension in the country because people are unhappy. And by keeping this going on, is just trying to create what? What are they trying to do? Even if they do the vote count, they're still going to be unhappy. What is her next charge?
The recounts did not bring any real change, and it's unlikely the Libertarians winning school board elections will either. At least, not immediately. Our election system is a complex network of individual pieces, people, parties, institutions, all with their own motives and goals, organizing and interacting around our rules and laws. As things are now, one particular behavior has emerged. Everything flows through the 2 major parties. A small win here or there may not change a thing, or it could change everything. Independent presidential candidate Dr. Lynn Kahn spent her campaign focused on ballot access, winning a court case that won't help her, but sets a helpful precedent for future candidates seeking ballot access.
They rejected my application, and I appealed that decision. And there's a lot of case law going back to the 1980s with John Anderson and Ralph Nader, and there's a lot of case law that says states cannot impose an early deadline on independent candidates. And the Attorney General of Maryland ruled in my favor after a few months, but you know, by then it was too late for me to remobilize the teams that I had in place to collect signatures.
Meanwhile, Maine has become the first state to incorporate a new, more expressive voting system. They now have the opportunity and burden to become a model for future reform in other states.
Any sort of meaningful change needs to happen in a number of different places, and voting is one of the most basic principles of our democracy. So if that in and of itself is still inefficient and not working for the people, you can't really look at any other meaningful change. They all are tied together. So
Nonpartisan reformers continue the fight to lower the presidential debate access threshold, potentially setting a precedent that could open up down-ballot debates as well.
15%, it sounds reasonable, it sounds like it's just a number, and so it's objective, but it's really not, because what the data shows that it's impossible to achieve. And our case is based on the fact that someone cannot run as an independent or third party and realistically hope to satisfy the 15% rule unless they ran in a major party primary first.
Even though it's tempting to think that effort A will give result B, the intricate relationships between ballot access, voting systems, debate access, and the uncountable other pieces of this system make change hard to predict. It's easy to feel powerless and overwhelmed.
I don't think it's true that people don't care. I've met the most amazing people. Everybody cares. Everybody cares. They're just depressed, they're angry, they don't believe that they have any choices, and when they hear they have choices, they get into a different place.
There's no silver bullet for reforming our election system. We've seen people make a choice, pushing for change rather than hoping for the current actors to become better performers.
We can't hope and pray that our savior is going to come here. I don't know why, as Americans, we tend to be inclined to want this hero worship of this executive that's going to come in and save us, when really, guys, we're each other's saviors. It's us, it's you and me. It's having this conversation today. It's meeting up with a car wash guy trying to get a school board person elected. Heck, that car wash guy, if he gets 100 votes and 501 votes wins, that's a significant impact. So we're our own saviors, and I think that's the biggest takeaway from this for people that are wanting to stay engaged. They know it's on our shoulders.
The stage our case is at is really at the final stage, and big picture, we're hoping that if we do win the case, it'll present a tremendous opportunity to change the way the debates are done. In this case, the judge granted us oral argument, which was an opportunity for myself and the FEC's lawyer to present our case to the court orally and have a dialogue with the judge and answer any questions that she has, and we're cautiously optimistic. I don't know how long it will take for a decision. There's no time limit, but hopefully we'll hear before too long what her ruling is, and then we'll see where we go from there. But we're hoping this lawsuit is a first step in our efforts to make the 2020 election a lot better for democracy in America than the 2016 election was.